Alright, so far in terms of graphing equations, we've only done this in slope-intercept form. So in other words, we need it to be in this form, where the m is the slope and the b is the y-intercept. Now this is more of a standard form that we see this equation in right here, and all this means is that in order to change this into y equals, or yes, this is an inequality, but we just need the y on its own side of the inequality. So what we're going to do with this is just subtract 3x from both sides. So we'll subtract 3x here, and what that gives us is a y is greater than or equal to, this became a 0, but then we have that negative 3x, and it would have been added to that 3. Now remember when doing this that if we multiply or divide anything, both sides, by any number, it would flip that inequality. And you can watch some of the previous videos which hopefully would help you with that. But in the meantime, let's go ahead and graph this, because now it is in slope-intercept form, where this is our m, the slope, and the b here is 3, or on the graph it would be 0, 3. So let's go ahead and graph that point first, which is what we would need to do. And it would be about right there on the graph. Okay. And then what we're going to do is use the slope, which is negative 3 or negative 3 over 1, to find the next point. So we would go down 3 and then to the right 1. You guys remember when we used the stair steps on this stuff? Okay, so this is our stair step. And we can continue this downward as well. Or we could continue it in the other direction as well. It doesn't matter, because on the homeworks that you guys are doing, you only really need 2 points. From this, I can go ahead and put those points in. As you can see there, yeah, I missed the points a little bit, but graphing on this thing is pretty hard. So let's go ahead now and put in the line. So there's our line. The next thing we would want to do is to check, looking up here, or even in the slope-intercept form, that it's also equal to. So this actually will be a completely solid line right here, okay? So we don't need to make that a dashed line. If it were only greater than or less than, and not necessarily equal to, as we see in this problem, then we would make that a dashed line. And you can watch some of the other videos in order to find that. But looking at this example, we're going to keep the line like this, because it is equal to, and that means that all the points on the line would make this a true statement, okay? So we're not finished though. We've got to now test a point. So what point would we want to test? We discussed this in class. The best one to test is 0, 0, because it can easily be found if it would give us a true statement, okay? Now if it's true, then we're going to shade that side of the line. If it's false, then we're going to shade the other side of the line. So let's go ahead and give ourselves some space here, but we're going to need that equation, or inequality, sorry. Alright, so there's our inequality, and we said we would test the point 0, 0 here, okay? So in this equation, 3x plus y is greater than or equal to 3. We're just going to replace the x with the 0, and we'll replace the y with 0 as well, which would help us to see if this is a true statement pretty quickly. So 3 times 0 is 0, plus 0 is this greater than or equal to 3. So 0 plus 0 is 0. Is 0 greater than or equal to 3? And the answer to that is no, it is not. So this would give us a false statement. So testing this point gave us a false statement, right? So now looking back at this graph, where 0 is on this left side of the line, that means all of these points to the left of this line would give us also a false statement. And you could test any of those points if you want. You could test this point, maybe you want to test that point. Any points in here would not work. It would give us a false statement. which means also, conversely, that any points on the right side of this line would be a true statement. So that's where we're going to highlight this or shade this in, and that's how we'll work on the homework as well. So there we go, and that is the finished answer